Welcome, I'm Jon Caldara, president of the Independence Institute and your devil's advocate. Well, we're past the halfway mark of the state legislative session, and it's all been about jobs, 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 and no social things whatsoever. To talk to us about it, of course, from the Junction, Sentinels,
not
whatever.
that hard.
Grand Junction Sentinel, how's that?
Yeah, that works.
Okay.
Yeah,
Charles Ashby, good to, like your hairstyle, looks
It's
good.
good to be back. Yeah, I'm modeled after you.
It's going to be the rage.
Yeah.
Everybody's going to be wearing one of these sooner or later.
Once you go bald.
Yeah, and Meg Trigger, thank you for joining us. You're a newbie at the Colorado legislature working for the Gazette down in the Springs.
Yep.
All right, so this is your first session.
First session.
What's been the biggest surprise being a newbie reporter down at the Capitol?
Probably the level of access reporters are given. We're on the House and Senate floors as reporters right there with the lawmakers. So it's been fun.
So you actually go into the chambers, you can hang out on the sides, you can throw spit wads at them, you can get their attention.
Right,
and
hear their banter and their side comments.
Right, so when they're bitching about somebody else, they can come over and say, you know what he did?
Yep.
And hopes, you like it?
Yeah.
All right.
It's been good.
What would you give to the new reporter? You, as an old steady hand at Colorado politics, what is the one lesson this young lady's going to learn in short order? How would you make her life easier?
Oh, I don't know.
First you're a reporter, get a second job, number one. Number two,
find a new career, but I guess, I don't know. I mean, there's nothing good to There's nothing good I can tell you. I've been there too long. The access is good. We've actually fought to keep that access. I mean, it's easy to lose that. A lot of states don't allow reporters on the floor. And so that access is very nice, and I am very appreciative of the leadership, as it's changed from both parties over the years.
What about bloggers? Now that more and more bloggers are doing real reporting, and papers can't afford as many people like you who actually stay in Denver to cover this for other areas of the state.
Well, first of all, I would question real reporting. It's not really real reporting. It's usually partisan reporting on one side or the other.
So in other words, it's either good reporting, my side, or not so good reporting.
It's good reporting, my reporting, or it's, their biased reporting.
But even if it's biased reporting, that was journalism of its day. That you had Democratic paper, Republican paper,
and we've evolved from that. Okay,
we're devolving right back to it,
and we're trying to fight that.
At the same time, it's just another set of eyes out there, making sure that shady things aren't going. There's so much that occurs at the legislature. We need help. Covering the day-to-day, making sure bills don't slip through, amendments get slipped in that no one notices.
The voice.
No, don't even.
They're a threat. Don't you understand? They're a threat. You don't want them. They do the same job for half the price.
The point is you have to be careful of them because they are partisan. I mean, like I said, Democrat or Republican, and they've tried to get access on the floor, and members are the ones who complain. Not us, but it's the members of the opposing parties who complain about that because there's nothing more than designed to get them because of that close access that we're allowed. They can get them sleeping at their chair, and then that shows up on a flyer, in the next election cycle, or some offhanded comment.
Like you wouldn't, if you caught somebody sleeping in a chair, you wouldn't take a picture.
Well, we would, but the point is, okay, picking your nose, do whatever you want to do to find. And the point is that they're there not to cover the news, but to find ways to.
I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, you have partisan bloggers, and we have to be careful that they don't become the norm. Otherwise, that could affect the partisan reporters who are already there doing their jobs and getting paid for it.
How did we even get on this subject?
I have no idea. Let's get into the session.
Right.
All right. First and foremost, guns took over everything. I was amazed to see the emotional response to these gun bills. You've been around for a while. Have you seen such a public reaction to any bills?
Well,
recently?
I have, but not such a uniform, organized one as this. Of course, we had the Super Slab project. Remember a few years ago, where they wanted to build a highway from one end of the state to the other. This one is obviously, this is a fundamental right that people have, in the Second Amendment, of course, and people take that very seriously. Duh. So yeah, it's been all over the map, and we've had some ideas that have come and gone. Like the not a ban on assault weapons, but some sort of quirky way of getting at assault weapons so that you don't want them dead. But some of the other stuff, the universal background check, the mag thing, the mag limits. I mean, that's.
Let's talk about a couple of those. I think the governor misjudged the response for a lot of these bills, particularly the magazine ban, which I believe is very poorly written and has lots of different problems with it, which will come out in lawsuits coming up. But instead of sending it back, he ended up voting for it. I know that Representative McLaughlin was thinking about changing his vote. There's whispers of recalls. Did politicians misjudge this?
It depends on who you ask. Republicans are saying they're going to win back their seats in the next election cycle. Democrats think they're doing the will of the people, that, after Aurora, this is what the public wanted, the theater shooting, some kind of a response from lawmakers. They think they have the support out there in their caucuses.
I got to think that in private, the governor's going, why did we do this again? What did we gain? We got the universal background checks, okay, and we've done something completely symbolic on magazines, which is going to lead to lawsuits. Do you think they were surprised?
No, I don't think they were at all. I mean, the governor was out in my town just recently and was greeted, this is like a few days after he signed the two major bills, the mag ban, or the mag limit, and the background checks, and it was a whole group of Second Amendment people there just basically doing what you might expect doing. And his comment was offhanded and laughing, and said and told the people who he was addressing, "Thanks for the reception. I loved it." So no, I think Meg is right. They think they're doing the will of the people. They think what was the number? 70 to 90%, whatever poll they wanted to talk about. We're behind them on this.
I remember, and you remember this as well. John Andrews was president of the Senate, and Republicans were in charge of both houses. And Democrats kept screaming about what's with the social agenda. They were going to put 10 Commandments in the schools. They were trying to have prayer meetings here. They were going to have, learning the Constitution. No, we needed to focus on the economy and jobs. And if only the Democrats were in charge, then we wouldn't be distracted with these social issues like they are now. Gay marriage, death penalty, guns.
I know you're disappointed because you believe the Democrats when they said that many years ago, because deep down you are a Democrat and you really want them to do well. Yeah, right. It's politics, John. You know how it is. I mean, they're in charge. They have the House and the Senate, and they have somewhat of a friend, a Democrat in the governor's office. So it's, they just came off of 2 years of not having the House.
What has the governor vetoed yet?
There's still some stuff coming up. Death penalty, he has killed that.
He has killed that.
All right. Some of the fracking stuff that's going to come up, that's going to.
Let's take them one at a time. The civil unions bill. Has it already been signed, or has
it's all signed?
It's all signed.
It's a law.
It's a law.
Yep.
It goes into effect
immediately, right now.
Right now.
If you and I want to get married now, let's go. We can do it.
You could.
It doesn't have to.
You could do
not
worse.
Same sex.
I'm telling you, you could do worse than this.
I have.
All right. Bring it back. So that one was a done deal. Get to the death penalty. The death penalty was something that looked like it was going to fly through. Why did it stop? Who killed it?
I mean, I think the governor's statement that he wouldn't support it is what killed it. The author of the bills pulled him back and didn't have him get considered.
Yeah, basically he's saying that he doesn't think there's been enough discussion on that. I mean, they took it too far. And a lot of Democrats that I've talked to said the same thing. We did civil unions. We've done some of the, we've got marijuana still to do. We've got a bunch of other stuff yet to do. And suddenly death penalty, yeah, we want to get to that too. Well, we can't fix everything. Let's save that for.
You've got the votes.
No, they don't. No, they don't have the votes because they knew when the governor came out and said no and used the V word. It was no, you don't have the votes. It's not worth the fight, and so they backed off.
My thinking is that the gun fight is what ended up killing the death penalty, and here's why.
It may be.
I think that after Democrats got so bludgeoned on the death penalty, and after on the gun bills, and the governor was getting one call every 18 seconds about that, knowing another hot topic issue, and the death penalty is supported by a majority of the people in Colorado. I think it was the governor said, I've been through this ringer once. I'll do gay marriage. I'll do guns. I just can't do another one, even though I think the votes are there. Well,
it's interesting timing to take it up too with someone on death row who their time could be coming up, and then you've got Austin Sigg. His court case going on, the Holmes court case going on for the Aurora theater shooting. It would have been really interesting timing for a full debate about the death penalty with those things going on.
It would be a great time for it. Talk to me a little bit about how the testimony went on that. Now, you and I differ on this. When I saw the Senate do their gun debates, they limited it to an hour and a half. They had expert testimony, so people from around the state that came to Colorado were not heard. Now, there's no reason that they have to be heard, but we've got a great tradition in the state legislature. Almost everybody who goes down there who wants to be heard by the legislature can. The same sort of thing happened on the death penalty fight.
Yeah, but there was something weird happening on that. At first,
explain it to me.
I'm not sure I can, because nobody's really sure exactly what was going on. Some people think it was more of a fight within the caucus and not against the Republicans, and they knew were not going to vote for that bill. So what happened was the committee chairman, Daniel Kagan, Republican or Democrat from Cherry Hills Village, 5.5 hours of testimony. First, he started out saying we're going to have 3 hours one side, 3 hours the other side, and then after 3 hours, he's like, well, we got a few more people. Well, let's go, a little bit longer. And then they went another 2.5 hours and more. They started with the opponents or the proponents. All right. They did let 2 people speak who were opposed to it, Mitch Morrissey, the Denver DA, and what was it, Fields' daughter? I can't remember. But otherwise, it was for 5.5 hours. It was all proponents. And the opponents had to wait 5.5 hours. Now, they're mostly DAs from around the area, from around the state. And that was slowly pissing everybody off, including me, big time. I'm like, what is going on? And the lobbyists are there talking to me. Don't worry, it's not a big deal. We're going to get to. I'm like, what are you guys doing? And so
what happened?
Well, then because all of that, there was some pressure coming in. And at the same time, behind the scenes, Mark Waller, the minority leader in the House, was sending notes to the chairman and to the speaker saying, what are you guys doing with this? That's why you had 2 opponents opponents was able to speak in that first 5.5 hours, because he was putting that pressure on them. But that's as far as that got.
And I think he also was frustrated at how quick the bill was introduced, I think, on a Friday.
Right.
And then it was heard, was it a Tuesday or a Monday?
It was Tuesday.
And I think the House Minority Leader Waller just felt like they didn't have time to prepare for opposition.
It wasn't on
to
Monday's
the bill.
calendar. It was announced on the floor. And there was some question about whether or not it was announced 24 hours in advance or not, to make it a legal public meeting. Boom. And so, and this is the funny part. Okay, you had all these proponents who would come in from New York, from California, all these anti-death penalty people who just all happen to be in town. Let's go ahead and have the committee hearing and talk about this. Meanwhile, the other side was like, what? Wait, we're doing the bill now? So they didn't even have a chance to get anybody there. So the DAs had to drop everything they did and sit there all day long waiting to testify. I mean, what else could they do? Because it really was amazing how they got their organization together.
Same thing happened. We mentioned on the gun debate. You had every sheriff. The sheriffs came out against the gun bills, and about 30-some sheriffs showed up to testify. And they weren't allowed to. So one of them would do it here and one of them would do it there. But they were, instead of back at their homes, they were waiting to be heard by.
There was plenty of testimony on that, and they were repeating themselves. And there's that aspect. And it's not uncommon to limit testimony. Both Republicans used to do it all the times when they were in charge. I don't buy that argument. There were hours and hours. We sat for 30 hours combined on testimony. Don't tell me there wasn't enough testimony. And they had plenty of time. They knew the bills were coming. It wasn't like the death penalty thing that was thrown in there and boom, here you go. No, they had plenty of time to plan for it. So I'm not buying that. They had plenty of time to argue.
But it was testimony that came up when Dave Kopel in the House said, wait a second, you're outlawing shotguns. Almost every single shotgun.
Right.
That didn't come out until testimony. There are some good things that come out.
I didn't say there wasn't, and it came out, and they fixed that aspect
there
of
was
it.
A lot of testimony.
You just don't like sitting it.
No, exactly, I don't.
Well, I don't care about you. I like it when you waste your time. That's a good thing for me. Anything that keeps you off of a typewriter is good for Colorado.
Oh, thanks.
All right. I want to bring it back to some of the subtleties and it's Republicans that seem to get caught saying the stupidest things. The legitimate rape comments. We're really good at that. High-heeled comments in the Ken Buck race. I mean, those things, really, my team, we're good at it. We've practiced. We've gotten it down. In this gun debate, it really went the other way, and that you had Joe Salazar talking about, well, rape victims. That's why we have call boxes and whistles. Evie Hudak's completely callous, almost autistic remarks really caused a furor. Is that why the Senate didn't go to the well? The Democrats didn't go to the well in these gun bills and talk about them at all. I've never seen Democrats not go to the well. the idea that Morgan Carroll is not going to go down there and say why this is a good bill. No, they made a decision. Were they worried about another Joe Salazar moment?
I doubt it. I think they just knew that the debate was going to go on forever. And that just added to it. And they had many other gun bills. And they wanted to get them done.
They can do no wrong, can't they? They are smart people.
They wanted to get it. Oh, no.
They can't do wrong.
When you talk about it, then they have to respond. And then, you have to respond. And you've got all these. They're trying to get these bills through fast. I'll give you that. They wanted to get it off the table. Boom, done. They were trying to get all this stuff out of the way so they can do the budget. Because they want to just get it done. Look, they're going to pass. We have the votes. Shut up. And that's basically the attitude.
Then why don't they do that the rest of the time when they just have the votes? Why on this particularly hot issue, the one time?
Because it is a hot issue. They want to just get it out of the way.
When you get Evie Hudak not going down to the well and spouting off on something, holy moly, somebody has choke collars on all of the Democrats to keep them from
there were leashes. You saw the leashes.
Who's holding the leashes?
I thought it was fascinating that they didn't just call the question. I kept expecting after 5 hours of debates and it was just all Republicans talking because Democrats weren't participating, that someone didn't just call the question and
which is a procedural motion that stops the debate.
To stop the debate and just take the vote. They knew they had the votes.
That's a nuclear option that they
have
don't
they ever
use.
Used it?
Oh yes, they've used that, but that's a nuclear option they don't use.
Is it?
What we didn't know at the time was they were going to withdraw 2 of those bills. So they allowed testimony to go a little bit. They allowed the Republicans to continue to talk.
Let's pull back because I found this to be a really interesting bit. After the Supreme Court of Colorado ruled that campuses need to allow concealed carry, if there was one anti-gun bill that I would be certain would pass, it would be to clean that up because, heaven forbid, some liberal professional feel uncomfortable that somebody might have a gun in their classroom. That one I thought was going to pass. That was the one that didn't pass. And that, I think, is thanks to Joe Salazar for rape whistles and call boxes, and Evie Hudak telling a rape victim that
you may be right about that.
I think
but
without
at the same time, think about that.
Wouldn't you say that was the one bill that a year ago, if you said if a gun bill is going to pass, it's going to be that one?
No, I would have thought the background check would be the one that would pass. I was even surprised why that bill was there. I mean, what does that bill have to do with Sandy Hill or
right?
What is it, Sandy Hook? Sandy Hill. What does that bill have to do with Aurora? I mean, it was not a concealed carry kind of situation. It had nothing to do with it. It really had no business being in that package. It had nothing. Concealed carry, what? I mean, I can understand the background checks. I can understand, the paying for the background checks. I can even understand the mag ban, but that made no sense.
There wasn't a rash of drunk frat boys shooting each other.
Right, exactly.
With their concealed carries that they were trying to address. Yeah, it was kind of not fitting in.
I don't know. You can speculate all you want. I don't know if that's true or not.
What I'm hearing is, John, you can be right as much as you like.
Exactly.
That's what I heard.
Exactly. Sure show.
It is God, it's so great. All right, let's go to some of the fracking issues, too, because at this point, the Gov hasn't had to make too many tough calls up to guns. Now he has marginalized a sizable political constituency. He's made the call on the death penalty. Now he's starting to hack off liberals because liberals wanted this, and he killed it by saying he would likely veto it. And now the big one, fracking, where now he's going to have to hack off some more people on his side if it goes through. What are the fracking bills going forward? What are the fracking bills going forward?
We've still got one waiting for it. It's the setback rule, right? I don't even know if that's been introduced yet. The biggest one right now, in fact, is to basically take off any experts off the Oil and Gas Commission, the panel that oversees. The panel that basically has filed suit against Longmont and I think Fort Collins as well. The governor has made his position known about this, and so I don't think he's making any new enemies. They already know he's going to veto these bills. They already know it. So it's like, for them, it's just a statement because it's a big issue for people. A lot of times, and the Republicans did this too when they were in charge, these are constituent bills. It's like, I promised my constituency when I got elected I was going to run this anti-abortion bill. I know it's not going to pass, but there I did it, and those evil Democrats killed it. Well, okay, I'm covered. That's all this is really going on here. Nobody's going to change their mind on this, and he's going to veto the bills, and life will go on.
Nothing impresses you anyway.
No.
You've seen it all.
No, you like to make a big deal out of these things. It's not really that big a deal.
I think this is a big deal. No. You tell me.
I'm not sure about that one. I think it'll get vetoed. if it goes all the way. And then in the budget, there were attempts in the budget to prevent the state from getting involved in the Longmont lawsuit with fracking. And I think that they knew that those amendments wouldn't get approved. There were amendments to increase the funding for inspections of wells. I think they knew that amendment wouldn't get approved, but they just put it out there to show that they're...
Is it?
It's just statements.
Let me talk to the old cranky guy who's seen
Okay,
too much.
all right.
Is it frustrating when you know what's going to happen? You mentioned it before. I remember my days at RTD. It's like, I know what the vote's going to be. You know what's going to happen. You know exactly how it's going to unfold, but you have to put together this show. Representative Kagan's really great at that when he's the chairman. He brings all the testimony that people hate him, and here's why. And he goes, well, thank you. That's very important stuff for me to know. That's going to affect our decision. I really appreciate you taking time out of your busy day, when in fact he's going, another 5 minutes, I'm out of here. I'm going to vote the same way. There's a lot of pomp and circumstance that goes on there. There's a lot of, how,
as a reporter,
are
it's
there
frustrating because I've seen it before, but what I don't know is going to happen is what's going to get introduced. I mean, this has been a very, very busy session. We've covered some bigger issues that...
Like what?
Civil unions, guns, yeah.
Marijuana is fascinating because that's one where we don't know what's going to happen.
Hasn't
it's
been any
completely
bill.
brand new.
Well, not yet, but there will be, because there will have to be.
No bill, but a lot of discussion.
Right.
A lot of
Right.
task force meetings,
The bill, yes.
committee meetings, and
Yeah.
it'll all be, what they come up with is going to be original. So
Right.
that's kind of fascinating.
That's turned into my new hated word. Let's have a conversation. We need to have a serious conversation,
Yeah,
which just means we're going to pass the damn thing no matter what
Well,
you say.
that's the blue ribbon task force of the Ritter days. It's the
We'll
same
have a
thing.
discussion.
We'll just have another blue ribbon conversation.
What makes this session so very unique, so very, I mean, what's different this time? Is it just that the Republicans don't have control of the House any longer, and therefore
That may be
things are
part of it.
flying?
I think that's part of it. I mean, when they lost the House for the last 2 years and lost the ability to pass some of these social issues they wanted to do, I think that frustrated them. And then they got criticized, for example, but including people like you, why didn't they do civil unions, back when they had da-da-da? Well, they're listening to you. They're listening to you.
Now they're
listening and they're saying, well, okay, now we've got civil unions. Now let's try death penalty. Let's try this. Let's try that. Well, why not? It's a non-election year. People will forget, in a year from now, and they probably will. So why not? So that's what you do when you're in the majority. You float these ideas.
Good to be king.
Yeah, it's good to be king. Exactly.
What's passed that surprised you the most so far? I'm actually interested in your point of view being a newbie there, because this is all fresh and new and wonderful for you.
It is, yeah.
Fool. Yeah, fool.
I'm trying to think of what has surprised me. Probably the gun bills, just how quickly they moved through the process. I thought that would be down to the bitter end, and they're already signed into law. I think that was surprising.
The fallout's going to be interesting. What do you hear on the recalls? And that I hear that there are recall efforts for Morse, Evie Hudak, McLaughlin.
Recalls are ridiculous in this state. You know what it takes to get a recall? It takes basically half the voters of that district to sign a petition, and they have to be valid, registered voters. And you got to do it in like 3 months. No. The recall is going to be when they come up for re-election. It is impossible. It is virtual.
Really?
A virtual impossibility.
So you're saying not one of them will make it,
I think
not
it's
be
just,
recalled, but you're saying not even the question will not make it to any ballot.
I don't think so. I mean, it would have to take a monumental effort in any of these districts to do it.
What's fascinating is they announced a recall effort of Senate President John Morse. He's term limited. His term is 18 months or whatever.
Right.
So that's, by the time they even got it on the ballot, he'd probably be gone.
Yeah. No, if they got it on this fall.
It would be this year.
they
It would take a year away from them. But that's, like I said,
it
it takes, it takes, I mean, when you've done petitions before, right?
I've done plenty of petitions.
There's a minimum amount you have to get, and that's the minimum number. But you don't stop there. You go 20%, 50%.
Oh, yeah.
You have to go, and it really comes out to almost half the number of voters because of those names that people, they're not really in this district, and so those names get tossed out. And so just to do it in 3 months, I don't think so. I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I don't know.
If you want to be surprised, you want to surprise me, then get that on the ballot for any of them.
Any of them.
Yeah.
I can't imagine all of them, but I can imagine one.
I
of those
can't even
happening.
imagine one. If you're thinking of McLaughlin, no, I don't think so either. I used to work in Durango. Remember, I know that area.
You know
too.
Durango.
And I don't think so. I don't think it's going to happen out there.
Got about a minute left. Firefighters wanted to be able to force unionization on even in districts that don't want it. And we saw this incredible thing when the mayor of Boulder, my hometown, and the mayor of your hometown, Colorado Springs, sat together and said, don't take away our power to work with firefighters the way we want to. Where is that?
It's dead.
It's dead?
Yeah.
It's gone?
Well, it'll be back next year, but it's dead.
It's been sitting in committee. They haven't taken it up.
Yeah, they don't have to. It's,
And that was the same thing where rather than letting it get to his desk, Governor Hickenlooper issued a statement saying, I oppose this as it's currently written. I think the authors of the bill hoped they could find some kind of a compromise, but
Johnson has this massive $1 billion, going to redo education funding forever. It's like a Rubik's Cube. I can't get a handle on it. Where is it?
The bill actually hasn't even been introduced yet, has it?
no, it's the
bill's
bill's been
there,
introduced.
okay.
It's
Well, the
huge.
real piece of
it's
it-
complicated.
It's
You're
huge
right.
and
It's a
complicated.
200-page. Yeah, you're right, because they just spent several days doing the amendments on it, and God knows where it's at. But the real question is going to be the ballot question and the $1 billion they want to raise in tax increases.
Well, the question is, we need to pass this bill so we can know what's inside the bill.
Well, almost. It almost comes down to that. But I would suggest you have a whole new program on that, because you're going to be talking about that. You're going to be talking about that a lot.
Charles, thank you. Megan, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hey, tune in Sundays to listen to me on KHOW. That's 6:30 a.m. Tell a friend about the Independence Institute. By all means, meet me back here next week.
All right.